Hello, everybody! Welcome back to another tier list where we are continuing our Watamote obsession by now doing ships. I think we have basically all of the important ones here. There's a few that probably could have been included that are not. There's a bunch of different, well, there's not, okay, not a bunch, there's a few different, like, Watamote tier lists, but I think this is a good one. And I think it has all the characters, all the essential ones that we need. There's other ones that I could have added, like Kiko and Shizuku. There was a few that needed to be added to begin with. But I mean, it was mostly like a few smaller ships. I also added this one for him for this one. I added this one for Arc.
Thank you. Would you say you and Nemeto over there is also just? I mean, I know you like that one too. So,
it's definitely an underrepresented ship, I'd say. There was a couple more that I could have added as well, but I didn't really want to. But I think that this is probably going to be the best one that I'm going to be able to find, you know? So, same as usual. We have another video where we did all the characters, or at least all the prominent characters. And that was really fun. So I think it could be fun to do various ships as well.
and in that video, we called Kiko as Kiki, which we're so sorry for that.
I am so sorry.
But again, Kiko, we get it right this time. Unfortunately, isn't in this tier list. So, but so we don't have to worry about any blunders like that. Thankfully.
Who should start?
It's your video, so you can start, please.
Wait, like me picking one for you?
Sure.
Okay. One,
Really
two, or three?
Right down the middle. Give me two, please.
Okay, we'll start with these two. Oh, I guess we need to go to yours. This one's yours.
But it's all the same either way. But yeah. Koharu Futaki. So this ship is, or this pairing rather, is a lot of fun because both kiddos have very lively personalities. Well, for Koharu does at least. Futaki is kind of just emoji-faced, not very expressive, but enjoys life. But anytime she is emotional, she is always, again, lively and extremely adorable in doing so. I know we reference the perfect meal line she says a lot, and anytime she talks about gaming, it seems to get really into it. Does get really into it. I can imagine their relationship being full of playful banter and energy. Or mainly from Koharu's end. I don't imagine like Futari is gonna tease her very much. I just imagine she's just gonna be someone who's like takes it and responds not with anger, but still like appreciates Koharu's presence. The what's that?
I honestly see it as I feel like Futaki is the one that would kind of mess with Koharu, because Futaki strikes me as kind of a troll.
I mean, she's always just like, isn't Futaki just doesn't it's just kind of there. Like I don't like from what I can remember of what I read, which admittedly is a little bit ago now, a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, but
I don't I,
I'm saying like in terms of like these two, like maybe as like a romantic pairing. I could see it being that kind of relationship where Futaki is a complete troll to Koharu.
okay, well, either way, I imagine it goes both ways personally. So I mean, I like the ship. It's Futaki, as I mentioned in the when we ranked the kiddos, it is to me exactly what um Kohar- Futaki is exactly what Koharu needed to like break away from Sachi, and again, it's exactly what Koharu needed to actually be able to talk back to Sachi and like defend someone. So I imagine like this pairing isn't too far out of question given enough time. I mean, and I imagine it could be a lot of fun because even in the as we see in the manga, when they get a spotlight, they do engage well and have a lot of things to talk about. A lot of things to talk about. So I mean, unfortunately, Sachi is just kind of throws a wrench in between them sometimes. But even when they were at the arcade, I believe, and like Sachi tells Koharu to like go with her. I mean, Koharu still like looks back at Futaki in like concern, and before she leaves, I think it's really prominent, and I really like that the killer development that Koharu got because of Futaki. So I think so. This one is a pretty strong one. I'm gonna throw this one in uh I'm gonna throw this one in A for me.
I think Koharu and Futaki is like I think it's the best ship for both of them. I would say I don't think there's anyone else that really pairs well with Futaki, and Koharu doesn't have a lot of options, but between the ones that she does have, I think Futaki is her best because it's kind of like what you said. I think it's Futaki is exactly the kind of person that Koharu needed to get her character development properly started. And I will say, after they interacted, sorry, Jinx is being loud. After they started interacting, Koharu definitely became better of a character. Even though she did eventually go back to Sachi, she was far more enjoyable in that dynamic after that. And um, they just strike me as a dynamic that would be really cute together. I feel like there's so many things that Futaki could get Koharu interested in, and so many things that she could help her like realize about like things, and help her be a better person. Uh, so far they haven't like interacted much in a while in the manga. They had that period of time, that main period of time, and then they kind of interact every now and then. But I do hope that they do get a little bit more later on because I also do really like them together. Probably here for now. Although I imagine they're probably going to be like low A by the end.
Jinx is being really loud. you
He is, I know. Hold on. Come on, bud. Okay. Your turn.
um so this is the pairing that I'm gonna need you to like say a lot about because I unfortunately this is the only one even before we began that I told you that I feel like I'm just gonna be lost in what to say. Asuka and Sasuke, please.
Asuka and Sasuke. So they start off being I think Sasuke starts off as being like Asuka's closest friend before eventually she becomes friends with Tomoko, and I feels like they mostly interact a lot at the start of the start of Sasuke's introduction to the manga, where Sasuke's just left really confused by all the stuff that Asuka is talking about. Excuse me. And just concerned and confused. But they do start to drift apart as time goes by, and I will say that like I can see why some people put them together. Personally, for me, I don't think there's enough to really fully like see it. Like I can kind of see if they had more time together and more interactions, I could see it. Um, I think they make for good friends, but I don't know if they would make for a good romantic situation, you know? So, plus Sasuke by herself, I don't think is a very good character. Although, it's funny because it's like this is pairing one of the worst characters with one of the best characters, and I don't know. I don't think there's a lot to it, unfortunately. I think there's potential, but it's never gonna be like properly explored, and um, I think you'd have to try really hard to make it work really good.
So as I mentioned, just audio, I genuinely don't remember anything about these two because if you've watched my or rather our character ranking tier list, I put Sasuke like near the bottom, or like I think I did put near like at the bottom because I just unfortunately don't like her all that much. Unfortunately, I do from what I do remember, and given Asuka's personality, I feel like these two would have a very relaxed and laid back relationship. I can see that their personalities could fit together nicely. I don't imagine like a lot of intense or arguments just in general breaking out between them. I mean, I can just imagine them keep getting along, just getting along not effortlessly, but still pretty well. But unfortunately, I again can't tell you a single like meaningful interaction that these two have. So again, I agree. I feel like they work as friends, but I just don't see them as a romantic relationship. So I'm gonna also just put up through them in D. I mean, again, I just don't remember anything about these two, unfortunately.
I'm gonna hit you with this one. I want you to do Tomoko and Megumi.
Oh, that's okay. So. Megami, I mean, both of these kiddos are some of my favorite ones in the Watamote. This is um, one of the conversely to the last one we just discussed, one of my more favorite ones, um, or if not one of my favorite ones, because again, there's just Megami is always anytime she appears, always seems to want to be able to be there for Tomoko, want to cheer her up, want to be a friend for her. She was one of the first friends, or is the first friend, because we don't really consider Komiyama as a friend to Tomoko. And is unfortunately but is not really part of the school, but so just Megami has a very warm personality, has a very emotional, intelligent personality. I feel like she would, despite the difference, but like I guess age, quote unquote, difference between them, which is easily when that much is like 1 year apart. They would make. I think she would make a great partner for Tomoko because even after she graduates, after they encounter each other, she explicitly tells the Tomoko what says to herself in her mind that she's gonna wait for her. Which I mean, I would obviously mean probably some friend or someone imagine like she's actually romantically interested in her. Um,
And I
but
think it's debatable.
but she has always been there as someone who helps Tomoko feel accepted without also trying to actively change who she is. Um, but again, it's clear that Tomoko also cares about Megami. I mean, obviously she doesn't realize initially when the who hugged her and when Megami was wearing the the suit. And then later on, again, as mentioned, I think that's one of the most powerful scenes when she eventually graduates. Tomoko actually like, gets emotional and regrets not getting to know her better. Unfortunately, I wish they interacted more than they did. After Megami graduates, I don't think they ever interact again up until up until the latest chapter, which as it is like I think 240. I think
Uh,
again. I think after,
no, they did meet Megami again when she had the dog.
was Tomoko there though?
Yes,
She was okay.
yes.
Oh, okay. Well,
It was like it
uh,
was Tomoko, Yoshida, Futaki, and then uh Yoshida's friends.
hmm. Why don't I remember like them any of them interacting? I feel like in that scene like they were just talking about the dog and no one noticed no one noticed Megami. I think that's what I remember at least. But in any case, given what they have, sorry, given what they have, given that again, Megami is Tomoko's first friend outside of you, it's in school at least. I think it's a very very powerful ship, but I can absolutely see it as a amazing romantic pairing. And again, I wish this is the reason why I came to love Megami so much and why I always lamented and got upset that she never got more scenes than she does, because there's just so much potential there. So this is gonna be my first S tier, in my opinion.
Chapter 182. Excuse me. I guess it starts at 181 and then it goes to 182 is when they actually start talking. So these two, Arc summed up a lot of my feelings already. Um, that first person to really show Tomoko any sort of attention, first person to really make her feel like there were people that were looking out for her and everything. And although unfortunately she had to leave by the end of the second semester or second year, it is nice that she got to see that Tomoko did end up getting friends, which I'm sure was like really nice for her to be like, okay, good, this person's gonna like she has friends now. That's good. Um, I've always been a little up in the air whether or not her attention for Tomoko has ever been like romantic, maybe like subtly romantic, because just to me it just always felt a little weird that she just like locked on to this girl like out of nowhere after only a few interactions and was like, yeah, I want to, I'm paying attention to that girl a lot, and to the point like wanted to like give her like multiple hugs and stuff. And I just I've always like kind of interpreted that as being like maybe she's like kind of interested in her. And then the whole thing of like I'll wait for you in the college only like further to me kind of implies that perhaps there's something there. Although I don't think that's gonna get, obviously I don't think that's gonna get properly explored unless they get like a college section of the manga, but we'll see. But if they were to actually date, I do think it would be probably a super healthy relationship on Tomoko's end. Although the main thing is, unlike with a lot of the other characters, we don't get to see them interacting together as much, so we don't really properly know how Megumi would react to a lot of Tomoko's mannerisms, like all the loot talk and everything, like all that kind of stuff. We don't know how Megami would exactly react to all that, so I don't know how she would be as a partner. But I'd like to imagine that it would probably be a pretty wholesome, pretty positive relationship for Tomoko. So the thing is, it doesn't like even if I do register that, it doesn't exactly appeal to me. You know, like I can acknowledge that I think it would be good. But because they've had so little time together compared to the others, I just don't. I wouldn't put it as at S because I'm not sold on it enough to put it up in S, if that makes sense. Yeah.
You and Comey, please. This one I also don't care about.
I think it's not terrible, but I definitely think the thing about you is that she has so few possible pairings. Um and the thing is, with most of these characters, you can believe that they are like it's hard to see this relationship as being like possible, I guess. I know there's some people that do want to see it that way, and I think that if it was possible, it would probably be better for her than Tomoki. But I think that's just because you is just would probably be just a decent partner to whoever she ended up dating. I've never been fully sold on this one as much as you and Tomoko. Although to be fair, I also don't like Komi with Tomoki either. I don't really like her with anybody. I just like her solo, to be honest. So I wouldn't say it's expressly bad, but I don't really see many positives in it, so I'm gonna keep it probably like bottom of C.
So yeah, I guess I mean this does have the merit that um they knew each other for a long time. I mean, they knew. I feel like they did know each other even before the field trips began, right? Where Yuri, Yoshida, and Yuichi got introduced. So it
They
has.
only knew each other in middle school.
Oh, okay, well, it has the merit of being a very of know each other for a long time, and I like the idea of use again helping Komi feel more comfortable around other people because again you as you mentioned you is naturally welcoming and understanding and cheery. Again, one of my points is that she literally never has an angry face throughout any of her appearances. She only any her anger, quote unquote, is only just like those sweat droplets would fly over around her head, which admittedly does happen a lot. But I mean, still, she always has a smile during that. Still, um, it has the potential to be a very wholesome relationship, but again, keyword is potential because again, this can never happen because again, Tomoki, no, not Tomoki, Komi is just so set on Tomoki that she would never, I feel like would never in a million years be able to see anyone else as a potential partner, which is really, really unfortunate. I feel like Komi is again. Yeah, I want it. Is it mean to call her shallow-minded, or is that accurate? Because it feels like every time she appears, she either only ever rants about her love of baseball, which I mean, Red and I don't don't care for, or like she's just chasing after Tomoki, which yeah cool, get in line. There's already yeah, so uh So for that reason, I mean, okay, this is another one that just that works, but also can never happen. So it's definitely a ship that's built far more on potential than like actual canon moments. Because even as far as interaction goes, yes, they interact pretty healthily, as at least better than again Komi and Tomoko does. But again, it's just okay. Maybe that's just because you use personality um always welcoming to the point that it's practically impossible for anyone to uh be anything but pleasant around her, except for maybe Sachi. But okay, but I mean, hopefully never meet. Um, so, uh, I mean, I, I mean, I still, I just for the sole merit that again, this there's potential. No, 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 not even potential. No, the potential. There's that if this happens. Let me put it this way: if it happens, then it's nice, and it could be good. But again, it just can't. So I'm gonna throw it in like I'm gonna probably keep it here too. It's probably again like Reddit, probably gonna keep it like, toward the bottom of C when this is all said and done. But I'm gonna keep it in C regardless as well.
Tomoki and Yoshida.
So this pairing is a fun one, I would say. Mostly because of just how different they are. Yoshida is extremely bold, extremely, and I won't say energetic, but energetic at times. Very, uh, what's the word? Head first or
Headstrong.
blunt, headstrong. Thank you. Um, has a headstrong personality, and that contrasts, I think, nicely with Tomoki's, more quiet personality, which could create some very interesting and entertaining interactions. Um, yeah, again, I feel like any interactions that Tomoki has with someone else can become interesting, has the potential to be interesting, because all the time he just seems just disinterested. And anytime that someone interacts with him, he's just like, "Please go away," or like says something that he just wants to leave or disengage with that interaction as fast as possible. So in Yoshida's case, again, given her bold and headstrong personality, I feel like the interactions there would be extremely funny. On the other hand, unlike with um, some other characters, the manga never really develops anything between them, right? So
It
most of
has the moment during the school festival where they're sitting together and everybody starts crowding around because everybody is super interested in what Yoshida is gonna do about Tomoki, and then but like nothing really comes of it.
mhm. And like and on even at that point, everyone crowds around like the pairing because they think what Yoshida's gonna do. Like I do you think Yoshida's like actually interested in Tomoki? Because I feel like she, I mean I personally I to me I don't like see it, but at the same time I also don't know like who Yoshida will be into. So so again most appeal to me originates from imagining what the relationship could be like, which I guess is true for like every pairing in this ship because none of these pairings are actually like canon, of course. Uh, but in this case, again, if we go by that logic,
What do you mean Yuri and Nemato's canon? What do you mean?
sorry, my mistake. Uh, um, but yeah, going based off that logic, I guess I mean going by again, that's not a point against them because again, um, I guess all of these is just pairings that we have to imagine in one way or another. Like in a hypothetical that Tomoki does end up dating Yoshida, again as mentioned, I feel like the interaction there could be very entertaining. And I imagine they could have like some of the most entertaining interactions like in the of everyone. But at the same time, I just also don't see them outside of the entertaining conversations they have or interactions. I don't necessarily see them having too many like cute moments, which I guess is because of how Yoshida and Tomoki's relationships are. Well, no, not relationships. Personalities are. Sorry. So it's entertaining, but to me, there's gonna be better ones. So I'm gonna throw us in like the I'm gonna put this. I think B's a good placement for this.
So for me, Tomoki and Yoshida's probably my second favorite ship for Tomoki. Because I've always thought that Yoshida's slow building crush on Tomoki was really cute. I really liked the way it developed. I really liked the way that through this multiple lewd events that happened, more and more Yoshida was paying more attention to Tomoki, and then just kind of sort of just like slowly fell in love with him. And although and it's kind of weird because again, I fully believe that Tomoki is like asexual or something because he's never shown any interest in that stuff ever. And I think Yoshida's kind of perfect for that because of how naive she is to sex. Like, she doesn't understand anything about sex at all. And I think that's kind of fitting for her to be paired with Tomoki in that case, because he doesn't seem interested in it at all. Not to say that Yoshida isn't interested. It seems like every time that Mako tells her about sex stuff, she is interested in it, she just doesn't understand it. However, I will say that there's not been enough in the manga to fully sell me on it as much as I wish there was. I feel like I was really on board with it on my first go around, and then my second go around seeing you reading it. I was like, man, there's not as much as I thought there really was, and it just did not appeal to me nearly as much as the other ship that I like more for Tomoki. I think there is really a lot of potential behind it, and I wish they did explore it more, and maybe they will. Honestly, it feels like the way that the manga is going, it feels like a toss-up between, to me, the way that I read it is, like, Tomoki has, like, there's 5 different people that are into Tomoki, but I feel like Sachi and Yoshida are the 2 characters that are most likely to end up with him by the end. But at the same time, I feel like Yoshida is more likely to end up with Mako because they've been setting up that kind of whole storyline for like half of the manga. So, it feels not so much like that's gonna be the end result, I guess. I think it would be cute. I'm just not sure. I don't like it as much as I used to. I honestly think that these 2 have the potential to be cuter. Yeah.
Tomoko and Shizuku. Yes.
So this is a ship that when people bring up Tomoko having like a harem or whatever, or like having multiple people have a crush on her, there's a lot of people that will lump Shizuku into this, and I've never understood it. I've never ever had the impression that Shizuku had anything for Tomoko, especially since she has a boyfriend, and like never has shown any sort of interest towards women. So it's hard to see her as anything but straight. I could see it as being a cute thing, a cute mirroring of Megumi being an influence on Tomoko's, and now Tomoko is an influence on Shizuku, and I think that is a really cool thing that they have been exploring. But I don't see anything between them the way that other people seem to, you know? I don't think there's anything really there, and I think the potential for relationship is cool, but I think that almost all of Tomoko's other potential partners are just better. And I don't know, it doesn't feel like there's enough there, especially since at the same time, like, they do interact like a decent amount, but still not enough for me to be sold on it, I guess. So I don't really see it myself.
Um, so, I like that you mentioned the point about Megami because this is another case because Shizuku's has a very general personality, and that general personality could translate to Tomoko having a sense of peace and understanding that she really gets with others. And I really like that after the Megami giving Tomoko that foundation to work off, Tomoko is then uh, translating that to Shizuku. Whereas I feel like that is where people draw the ship from because Shizuku like looks up to Tomoko and Tomoko is like trying to is trying to be that source of being what Megami was for Tomoko for Shizuku, if that makes sense. Um, this I mean again they have several um nice interactions, I would say. But their relationship, I imagine, is entirely platonic. Um, I again, like you, this is another pairing that I just, conversely to Megami and uh, Megami and Tomoko, where there could be something there. Shizuku has never really given a line or shown like romantic interest in the Tomoko, but rather like has always like kind of looked up at her, which I do find really cute. But I mean, still, I completely imagine like relationship as platonic. But if it does happen, uh, again, if it does happen, I feel like it could be a very um gentle, comforting, and um, nice and healthy interaction. Healthy, not healthy interaction, healthy relationship between the two of them. I don't because around Shizuku, Tomoko um, doesn't really give off her usual mannerisms of her usual like lewdness or her usual like eccentric personality is the best way to put it. So, how should I rank this? Should I rank them based on like the what if, or should I rank them just based off of like can it happen or not?
I've been
Because
kind of seeing it as a mixture of both.
yeah, exactly. But
Basically, like,
because this one,
do you think that they have enough in the manga to that it would be interesting to see them together? And if they did to get together, would that make for a good pairing? Regardless.
um, well, as I mentioned, this pairing, again, I can never see them being together. But at the same time, I can make the argument for like you and Komi or like Tomoko and Yoshida, Tomoki and Yoshida. So I mean, I feel like I should like lean more toward like the what if it did happen and like, in my ranking. So in that case, I I think I'm gonna put this um you know unlike Kohara and Futaki where like it could happen. This one again is green dark because it can't happen, but there's just not enough there that points to them actually happening, actually happen. But it is cute if it does happen. So I'm gonna put him in the top of B, or like to the left of Tomoki and Yoshida, please, right in the middle.
Mako and Yoshida.
Oh, um, try to think what there is to say about this. Um, so this is a pairing that, like Koharu Futaki, given enough time, like for example, if for example they go for a college angle, it would most likely end up happening. And I think it would work really well because Mako's calm personality um, is a good balance to Yoshida's, as mentioned before, more emotional and more impulsive side. They already have a very believable friendship. It is made explicitly clear that Mako has an interest in Yoshida. It is made abundantly clear that Mako has eyes for Yoshida enough to the point that she has the same uh, dead-eyed black pupil still to anyone who mentions having interest in Yoshida. So it's not hard to imagine that going to something more, especially because in like one of the chapters, I think in the early like 200s, or like 180 or 190, um, Mako asks Yoshida what the plans for the future are. So there absolutely is something there. And uh, but I mean, this is just the issue of Yoshida's personality, because as you mentioned, Yoshida has no idea about what sex is, and she doesn't really seem interested in it. That being said, I think Mako's demonstration about it kind of in drawings was really really cute. Um, I mean, I do want to see them like end up together, because again it's made so obvious that again there is something there that Mako is obviously crushing uh Yoshida. And again, this is one of the most like clear cut relationships there are. Like for most of these ships, it's kind of just like uh, having two killers paired together. That they have some cute moments, but they never, like, for most of them, don't really show much of a romantic interest with each other. These two do. So, uh, um, I now imagine how it would be as a couple. I don't imagine like what them as a couple being too different from how they are already as just friends. So, um, but I still imagine Mako will still be how she usually is. Just want to spend as much time as she as possible. Um, is still her cheery self, although maybe she's probably gonna be even more cheery now that she's actually together with the woman she likes. Whereas Yoshida, I mean, she's gonna still be just herself. So, I don't imagine it's gonna be too much different from the uh how their friendship already is, and I fully understand why when a lot of people see them only as close friends rather than a relationship because of how Yoshida is. But to me, I just I hope if there's any one ship apart from a big one we'll discuss later. A few ones we'll discuss later. This is definitely the one that I feel like could happen, and we want to see happen a lot. So, um, I'm gonna. Hmm, there's more potential for them than Kohara and Futaki. So I'm gonna put them above them, Prison A, please. And. Hmm. I'm trying to think if like I want to like. No, I'm gonna keep Tomoko and Megami. No, yeah, Tomoko and Megami there, but I'm gonna make another tier up anyway. So.
Mako and Yoshida. So I mostly like it for being one of the few pairings that has been kind of teased for such a long time. Mako having a very subtle crush on Yoshida to the point that like it hasn't even fully been, I don't think it's been like explicitly said in even the manga that Mako has a crush on her. It's purely from context clues. I think the biggest clue that you get is her giving the death stare when Tomoko suggests that Yoshida and Yuri could kiss. I think that's the clearest thing that you get, and it's still not even like explicitly spelled out for you. It's probably the most subtle crush in the series, and I find it to be really interesting. And it strikes me as like that kind of relationship that would be really, really fun to see how it would play out, because Yoshida has never really once showed interest in women. So it would be, it strikes me as the type of relationship where, kind of like what you described, like Mako is the one who's extremely knowledgeable, extremely like confident in her sexuality and all that stuff, and then you have Yoshida, who knows nothing about sex, nothing about that kind of stuff, is completely blind to this kind of aspects, because she was blind to even like even like the straight, like heterosexual aspect of herself. So she'd probably be even more blind to any possible like homosexual one. And I think that could be such an interesting thing to see play out, to see how that relationship would advance, because I feel like there's so many different things you could do with it. Plus the fact that it's again been like subtly played throughout the entire manga to the point that some readers might not even notice, makes it such an interesting and fascinating ship to me. Plus, there's also the fact that like I know some people pair Mako and Yuri together, and there is one here for them. But I think Mako's only really truly good pairing is with Yoshida, and yeah, I think it's one of those things where if Yoshida did not end up with Tomoki, I think she would most likely end up with Mako, and I think that's more likely to happen. They get plenty of time together, obviously, especially as the manga gets further and further on. And I've always really liked them together. I know there's some people that don't because they think that Mako is like manipulative and everything like that, but it's like she's never harmful with it. She only ever tries to manipulate situations to where she can hang out with Yoshida and people stay away from her and stuff like that. But she does also try to put Yoshida's happiness first. And I've always seen that as like manipulation for a good cause. You know, she's never malicious by anything. She's never like basically she never really sabotages anyone, really. And yeah, it's been such like a slow burn, long play kind of thing that I really want to see it eventually play out. I'll put it here. You keep hitting me with my A's. I mean, I guess I picked that one.
Can you go back to my list for a minute? I'm gonna I think I am gonna bump down Tomoko and Megami. I'm gonna throw him in between Marco and Yoshida and Kohoro for Taka, please. So, thank you. Marco and Sachi, please. I'm gonna hit you with all the ones that I don't have much to say about.
The funny thing is, I actually don't hate this one. I don't think there's a lot going for it. I think it's mostly just that like they do have a lot of interactions together. Most of it is like every time that it feels like they're talking to one another, it feels so charged and so tense in a different way than when Sachi is talking to other people. And I think for as much as Sachi thinks that she pays attention, I don't think she ever really fully registers that Mako has a crush on Yoshida, which I find kind of funny. But I do find their dynamic to be kind of interesting because it makes it, you really have to wonder how they ended up as friends. Like, I can kind of see Mako and Yuri ending up as friends somehow. Mako does not seem like the kind of person that would hang out with Yoshida or with Sachi. It feels, but at the same time, their dynamic kind of works together in a way. As partners, though, I think they would be really horrible partners. Mostly because, like, well, actually, no. Knowing how Mako seems to be, I'm trying to think, like, it feels like on paper, it should be the kind of thing where Sachi is, like, the dominant one in the relationship that is, like, mean to Mako and, like, controlling. But knowing how intense Mako can get, I actually think it probably wouldn't be that way. I think Mako would actually be the more dominant one. Because Sachi strikes me as an all bark, no bite kind of person, really. Um, I think it's at least interesting. I don't think it's genuine, like really all that great, but at the same time, I don't like hate it exactly. It's funny to me to imagine. It would be funny to see what a relationship between them would be like.
So this is an unfortunate one because, as you mentioned, I have no idea how Marco ended up friends with Sachi. But at the same time, it's as you mentioned too. This relationship is one that I could see being very mature, but take that how you will, because both killers here can be I want to say level-headed. Like Marco is level-headed, of course, but I mean, Sachi, if you look past the the everything there,
The being an
is all.
absolute bitch.
And yes, it is all can be level-headed too, and both of them are capable, very capable of communicating well. Again, with Sachi's case, that's unfortunately more of a negative, um, but uh, but it's easy to see them pairing together as I mean they clearly had enough going for it that they ended up being friends, but as a relationship it's like I think it's just like a tug of war. It's like, hey, who can be the more um who can be the more dominant one in between the other, which is it feels like it's gonna be like a lot more toxic more than anything healthy. Um, it feels like this could be a constant competition. I just, um, I, it's like, this is another one where, as partners, I feel like the only thing that would change is, as I mentioned, who can be the more controlling one of the other, in which case, like they all try to one up each other. Um, but so combined with the fact that I'm just not a fan of Sachi, and I do think that both of these killers have another much better pairing with each other. That's just a recipe for pretty bad disaster, and I have no idea how they became friends. So, unlike even with Asuka and Sasuke, where like their relation could be comfortable if it could be comfortable, this one, I just, it just no. Okay, so you go.
Speaking of Tomoko and Asuka,
Um, so this ship is incredibly entertaining. Another one that's incredibly entertaining, and it's another one that's extremely potent. That you can see that there might be something there, especially on Tomoko's end, because throughout the manga, Asuka has a very dramatic imagination, and that creates some funny, some entertaining interactions that it clashes with Tomoko's awkwardness, and Asuka seems to, or not seems to, does genuinely appreciate Tomoko's personality. She every time that they have an interaction, like Asuka's always nice, always welcoming. And they have uh, some a few very charged moments. And throughout the manga too, it's made clear that or not made clear, but it is implied that it seems like Tomoko has a crush on Asuka, which I mean I've never I'm personally I'm not entirely sold on this pairing, but I will never deny that the chemistry is there. Um, the at the same time, their chemistry I can also see an argument that the chemistry can be leaning more toward comedy rather than just straight romance. But in a world where Tomoko asks like Asuka out, I don't imagine like Asuka's like toning her down or anything. I imagine I imagine them getting along very well, and then as partners, I imagine like their dynamic being um a pretty comfortable one where Tomo can be herself and Asuka just like appreciate because again Asuka also has a vivid imagination and can also be extremely lewd. So uh, this this is this is um you know what? I'm gonna throw this one S. I'm gonna put Baku Yoshida right behind it. So, yeah, put on as an S and thank you.
So, fun fact. The website, Dynasty Scans or Dynasty Reader, they have an entire thing for Watamote. And you can look it up. You can look up various comics by ships. Tomoko and Asuka has probably the most comics on that site together. People really like shipping them together, and I fully understand why. Asuka's probably my second favorite pairing for Tomoko, simply because of the fact that, like, obviously we know Uchi has like a definitive crush on Tomoko. I think Asuka is the second most likely to have a crush on her, especially to the like. You can argue Yuri and Nemoto did, and maybe like you could potentially argue that they still do, but you definitely could have argued that they did, like way time ago. But even up to the current moment, I think there's an easy argument for Asuka liking Tomoko, and then I think the same is the other way around. I think Tomoko probably has a crush on Asuka too, even if she doesn't realize it. Or at the very least, I think she respects Asuka more than like almost anybody else, given the way that she acts around her. Their dynamic together is extremely interesting because Asuka never once shows any sort of um like looking down on Tomoko or like misunderstanding her or anything like that. She fully gets what Tomoko is saying. She fully understands her mindset. Is somehow more mature and yet can also be more lewd than Tomoko at the same time. Fully understanding, fully trusting of her enough to like not only grope her, but like basically tell Tomoko, hey, if you need to grope some boobs to focus, I'm right here, and I'm perfectly fine with that. And it's like the level of like trust and like connection you need to have with a person to just be like that, especially for someone like Tomoko, that's like a lot. And their whole interaction on the beach of her like asking Tomoko to call her by her first name, something that Tomoko has only done with a few other people. Like she doesn't even call Naoto by her first name. She calls her by a nickname of her last name. And I think the only other person off the top of my head that I know she calls by their first name is Yuri. And even then she calls her like Yuri Chan or like something like that with an honorific. Asuka's one of the few, if probably one of the few characters that she like calls her just by the name, which is like a big thing in Japan. Like just calling somebody by just their first name is like one of the closest things you can do with someone that you aren't dating. And I just find that interesting. Their whole dynamic is so interesting to see, and like it's so cute. All of their interactions are adorable, especially the stuff with the college. That's an amazing chapter to see their connections, everything. I'm pretty sure part of the reason Tomoko wants to go to the college that she does is because Asuka was so eager about it, and she wants to go with her. And it's one of the most believable non-explicit ships, in my opinion. And if I didn't adore Tomoko with someone else, I would absolutely want her to end up with Asuka. And then I don't think I really ship Asuka with anyone else myself. I mean, there's you, but that's like more of a funny ship to me rather than a genuine ship like this one is.
Let's knock out some Tomoki ones. Let's start off with the worst one in my opinion of the four, Tomoki and Sayaka.
Ugh. Sayaka fucking coming in to just like have Akari being in love with Tomoki for most of the manga, and then the fucking festival arc, the accidental kiss happens, and then Sayaka fucking falls for him. It's so annoying. It's like Sayaka is such a fucking terrible friend. Just be not only is she like she tries to help Akari, but just fucks her over at so many turns. But now she's also crushing after her best friend's crush, and it's like how that's so terrible. That's such a terrible thing to do, and it's like there's nobody. I doubt there's anybody that thinks Tomoki is gonna end up with Sayaka because of how it's such a late introduced crush. Every other one of his pairings, like I don't like Komi and Tomoki together, but you can't deny that at least that has been around for almost the entire manga. This is just a ship that came out like during the school festival arc, and that's just like so recent that it's like who fucking cares? It's not like it's gonna ever go anywhere. It's so bad and it's so annoying, and there's no hope for it, and they don't have any chemistry together at all.
So this pairing, I'm not even going to give the benefit of the doubt to imagining them as what it did with a couple, because they can't be. I mean, look. I mean, again, I apologize if you're a Sayaka fan. More power to you, okay? But it's like this accidental kiss, leading to Sayaka crushing on Tomoki, leading to basically betraying Akari. Uh, um, it's like it's almost like the writers like making a joke of Akari's kiddo, and like Sayaka just there to like screw her over every time. I feel like that's the point because Sayaka just it feels like she only exists like make Akari uncomfortable, which again, is just awful. There's again, this one is of everyone. The one that is like the one that's introduced the latest, and all of every pairing that's Tomoki's involved with, this one is abrupt. This one should not have happened. There's a pure accident, and it's just awful. So it just deservedly, but ends up here. Like I don't even imagine like maybe Sayaka's gonna be happy with Tomoki. I don't imagine I don't imagine like maybe Tomoki's gonna be happy. I don't imagine like Tomi's gonna be happy. I don't imagine Akari's gonna be happy. It's basically a loss for everyone. So there you go. I'm always tempted to like, make an extra turn down for this, but I mean I'm just gonna keep it here.
To be fair, I would probably do the same. But
okay, your turn.
Tomoko and Nemoto.
Tomoko and Nemoto. So this is a pairing that I actually really like. Well, partially because it involves partially because it involves one of my favorite characters in Nemoto, but I also obviously don't also like or really like Tomoko as well. But it gives both characters so much to work with. Both characters we learn have spent so much time hiding behind like a fake like persona of themselves, which gives them a understanding of each other's insecurities. I really like the introduction in which Tomoko initiates by talking to Nemoto about the voice acting stuff, which I again proves that they share like they share a common interest. which gets further developed when later on, I don't remember exactly which chapter it is, but I remember at some point they show a hotel room together, or a room together, and that entire sequence of Nemato helping Tomoko improvise a scene because she looks over and sees Tomoko like frowning her lines because she's like so shy to do so, but Nemato like, never judges her, never like berates her, never says anything negative about her even after the fact, but instead improvises, and it's a be a good thing because after they do their voice lines, uh everyone else, every other pairing starts improvising too, and it ends up being more entertaining, so it works out positively. Um, they have a very funny and cute moment together, where like Namato goes to take a shower first, and then she thinks Tomoko is going to open the curtain to like, look at her, and then she's going to surprise her, but Tomoko never does. And then when Tomoko goes to take a shower, and Nemato's like open the curtains and say, "Sorry, I didn't mean that." It's just so funny, and especially that same like sequence, same arc, where I guess you can call it. Um, Namato like climbs on the bed and like whispers something very kind of lewd in the, like Nemato, not Nemato, in Tomoko's ear.
Man,
I think that
wow,
seems very.
Nemato talking to herself? That's crazy.
I think that seems very funny to us too. But so like watching them slowly become more and more honest with each other, it's really satisfying. The only issue is that sometimes Nemato's teaching cross a line, which I mean, is in line with like Kyoto. What are you laughing at?
Nemoko.
No, Nemato's teaching sometimes cross the line. I'm so sorry. Which could make the relationship feel frustrating at times, but I mean that's nothing new for Tomoko. When you have friendships that with like Yoshida slap with like putting Tomoko in a chokehold, when you have like Yuri like hitting her like on the shoulder, and even Nemato like slapped her across the face at one point. Like sometimes like Nemato crossing the line with teasing feels like subtle, and she feels like the least violent of everyone. So there's definitely something to do, and I'm definitely a fan of this one. I as a couple, I mean for this for both these characters, well, I mean for both these characters, there's better ones, but even as in my opinion, but even as even if they were a couple, I feel like what we saw, as mentioned, in like that sequence where they share a room together, and like Nemato is like never like judges her, and is always like true in support of Tomoko. I think there's a lot of potential. So I'm gonna put it between Tomoko and Asuka, and Mark and Yoshida, please.
So, I like Tomoko and Nemato because the crazy thing is that Nemato's probably one of the characters that shows up the earliest in the manga and like has like really early interactions with Tomoko, but she does not become friends with her until like quite a while later, until like their I think the third year, until they introduce the introduction of and until they introduce themselves in the third year and Nemato comes clean about her voice acting stuff. I think that's the moment that they truly start to become friends. And just the way that they interact with each other, the way that they, considering that Nemato's probably one of Tomoko's closest friends, it makes sense to see them as like that they'd be really good as a pairing together, and I think they would. Obviously not the best, and I wouldn't even say like, for me, I'd say probably like number 4, probably for me. But they have so much chemistry together, it's kind of insane. Like, it's hard to say. I would say they have more chemistry than Tomoko and Yuri together, but but even if I would say that I do like Tomoko and Yuri more, but I would it's like what you said. All the little moments that they have when it's just one-on-one with the two of them are really fun and interesting, and it shows how much they are, and how Nemoto definitely probably sees Tomoko more fondly than Tomoko even sees her, which I find kind of funny. But I think that's just because Tomoko just doesn't really like. Even then, she still kind of doesn't have a connection with anybody as much as they do with her, because she's just kind of doing her own thing most of the time. And I, while I would say early on in the manga, both Nemoto and Yuri both like clearly had feelings for her. The funny thing is, it feels like it dropped off at some point. Like they both fell out of love, which I mentioned this in the characters video with Yoshida, but it was like, it felt cool to see that it felt like Yoshida and Tomoko started off as like pretty decent friends, and then Yoshida kind of fell off a little bit while Yuri grew stronger as a friend. And I like the manga, even if it was unintentionally, kind of showing that some of those dynamics do change because it's more realistic. And the same kind of happened with Yuri and Nemoto, where it feels like they both had a crush on Tomoko at one point, but then over time, those traits kind of faded away. And I'm guessing that it faded away because the author stopped coming up with, either stopped finding it interesting or stopped coming up with jokes to do for it. But it gives the impression that they both had a crush on Tomoko at one point, and then then they like fell out of love, which, adding on with the Yoshida thing, is really interesting, and I really like that kind of thing because I feel like anime manga doesn't do that kind of thing very often. Usually it's like if a character falls in love, they're in love forever. It never happens that like character will fall in love, then nothing happens and they fall out of love. It's such an interesting thing. But even like just disregarding that, like actually if they did end up together, I think they'd be such a cute couple. Just all the things that they do together, and then imagining them also doing that while also like being able to like hold hands and like kiss and stuff. It's like, that feels so sweet and kind, you know? It feels like it would be like a kind of a, I have a feeling Nemoto would kind of be the dominant one in that relationship, although I feel like when it comes to Tomoko, that's going to be the case with most of her partners. But you can definitely see it with Nemoto. She would be taking the lead in everything. But I think it would be very interesting to see. Although, again, this is probably, I'm gonna say, my fourth favorite Tomoko ship, and it's very, very close behind my number 3. Yeah.
Let's knock out all the Tomoki ones ahead of the list. The second to worst, Tomoki and Komi.
Oh man. The thing is, in my first run through, I think I thought about them more positively together because it just like, because they have so many moments together that are really funny, like Tomoki catching Komi in his bed is probably really funny and one of the funniest things in the early parts of the manga in my opinion. It's just such a ridiculous, awful situation for Komi, and yet she's so happy about it. She's so happy that she fucking forgets her glasses and she has to go back and get them because she's so thrilled. But the problem is that it's hard to see this ship as good, not only because Tomoki, like, I think is kind of scared of Komi in a way, but also because Komi being so obsessed with Tomoki makes her a not very enjoyable character. Like, it feels more fleshed out than some of Tomoki's other relationships, but at the same time, it's just not very good. I wouldn't want to see that. I would be kind of disappointed if they ended up together, but at the same time, it's like, well, this feels like the only path for Komi, because I feel like she doesn't have anything else for her character to really go if they didn't end up together. But I guess you can probably say the same about, like, Akari, you know? But, yeah, I don't really like them together that much. I wouldn't say it's, like, downright terrible, but it is definitely not great.
So, as I mentioned in my Kyoto tier list, Komi is, as you mentioned, extremely obsessive, extremely obsessive to for for Tomoki, to the point of annoyance, and it doesn't really give her Kyoto much depth, but rather anytime that she does show up and Tomoki's there, he just kind of well whatever. Now you can expect Komi to like be head over heels and act like a maniac. Which again, in terms of obsessive killers, there's better ones in terms of even Komi, what Komi's trying to accomplish herself in chasing after um Tomoki. There's better ones there too. So what you have left is just a killer that's just kind of there for entertaining purposes. Um, I would say that Komi is Tomoki and Komi can get along just based on the virtue and fact that uh, if once they're separated, they're both rather like resolved. But the problem is when they're together, Komi is like the furthest from that. So, um, as mentioned, this is excluding Tomoki and Saika. This is I'm just this is toward like the bottom half of the Tomoki's pairings. So and even as a pairing, I don't imagine like it's gonna be very healthy or very good because Komi's just gonna act like act as she always does, act as like someone who's constantly flustered, constantly energetic around Tomoki, and I imagine that given Tomoki's personality, he would be annoyed by that. So I think that yeah, uh um yeah, I'm gonna keep them here. Yeah, I'm gonna keep them right here, please.
Tomoko and not Tomoko, Tomoki and Akari.
Okay. So, Akari is, to reiterate, Komi, but in my opinion, done better. Akari brings a lot more warmth, a lot more energy without going overboard. Approaches Tomoki like an actual normal person and not someone who's like who accidentally took some like drugs or something before interacting before going to screen. While Tomoki provides
It's just some
like
silly little drugs.
what Tomoki provides um I feel like he will provide stability in return. Akari is that killer who I imagine would Akari, I feel like Tomoki would appreciate Akari's presence. I don't feel like Tomoki would get necessarily annoyed because Akari has never been anything like over the top. The only time she's been over
Well,
the top is unless wait, am I forgetting something?
to be fair, his opinion of her is probably really weird because of all the weird things that she has accidentally blurted out around
Oh,
him.
okay, for your fair.
She did accidentally blurt out that she wanted to see his dick.
Okay,
So.
that's fair. Um, but I mean, as I was saying, I mean, I imagine like again, this is the whole issue is because Psycho exists. If Psycho didn't exist, maybe like it could develop more, but like, it's just a Curry needs to drop Psycho like
Yesterday.
right away, like yesterday. Yeah. So currently it's entirely based on off of fan speculation. I mean, the crush is obviously there. The crush throughout is obviously through any time throughout the entire manga, starting from all the way near the beginning when the Kari, as you mentioned, accidentally said that she wanted to see Tomoki's cock, and then later on when like Saika steals Tomoki's first kiss, Kari was like trying not like throw a water ball in her face or the equivalent like punching her. So obviously there's something there, but the unfortunate part is that I don't think it's ever going to be developed because Psycho just exists as a kiddo. And I imagine that Tomoki is going to be weirded out by her. But I imagine like if they did end up in Brigado, if a card can actually explain and like actually can drop side can actually explain like her position and what and like how her feelings, I imagine Tomoki isn't gonna be necessarily push it away, but like actually like be like, oh okay, so and like, that's gonna be that. Um, so this is close. For me, this is close to like the best Tomoki pairing, but I feel like this one and like the one that we hold like first place is like can it be interchangeable? But for me, this is easily still better than I think Tomoki and Yoshida because so I'm gonna throw this I'm gonna I think I want to put it above Tomoko and Shizuku or not. Uh, no, I'm gonna put it behind it. So I'm gonna put in the middle. Thank you.
So here's the thing. I don't really like these two together either, because I don't know. I think it's just because Akari does not get a whole lot of attention in the manga, and so much of her entire thing is also revolved around Tomoki. I mean, sure, it's not as annoying as uh Komi is, not like at all. Um, However, I don't really see anything there. I don't think there's much chemistry there. I don't really see much potential there, really, at least compared to um, Tomoki and Yoshida or Tomoki and Sachi. I just, I'm not really, I don't really see the same thing you do, I suppose. But that's also just because you have a much higher opinion of Akari in general than I do. Because it feels like when the character is mostly focused around the other person, being with the other person, most of the time, there are exceptions, but most of the time it doesn't work for me, and that just doesn't work for me with these two. I just, I do think that it would be fine. It'd probably be a fine if she could get rid of Sayaka and she could just have a normal conversation with him. It probably would be fine. But at the same time, I just don't see it as... I see it as a fine relationship, but not an interesting one. So, I think I'm gonna leave them at the top of C for me. It's just kind of... It feels like just kind of boring, I guess.
And now we have the last one for Tomoki.
This might be kind of a surprise because again, I don't like Sachi. Sachi is probably one of my least favorite characters in the manga. Not the least favorite anymore. But at the same time, I adore her dynamic and interactions with Tomoki. I find them to have like a surprising amount of chemistry between them. She's probably the person that Tomoki has like the highest opinion of that he has ever met. It feels like that we've seen, and especially of the crushes. She's definitely the one that he has the highest opinion of. So that's already a good point for her. But also feels like she has enough going for her elsewhere that her having a crush on Tomoki is just like an extra cherry on top of what already is her character. And that makes it a little bit better to me than some of the others. It's one I can't fully explain it, but I think it would be the most interesting pairing for him. I think Yoshida is close, but I do prefer Tomoki and Sachi together way more, and I think that's not only the best pairing for him, but I think it's the one that's most likely to pan out. And yeah, I just think that they are actually like an interesting pairing together.
Where's your entire BQ?
I don't know. That one. That one. There's like three, and there's at least three in here. We've just been avoiding them.
I love that just been actually avoided like
We're getting the good of the good and the bad.
And of course mine is like evenly split 3-2, 3-2. Anyway. So again, you covered a lot of the points I want to bring up. Sachi to me has never been a killer that I've liked. She's like Mako done wrong in that in terms of manipulation. Whereas Mako is like manipulation, but it's never malicious. Shachi is manipulation, but is absolutely be a bitch about it. But at the same time, it's like as the story progresses, it feels like after Koharu is like started to bite back. After Sachi has like, more of her killer developed, and especially after Sachi got around to meeting Tomoki, it feels like she's become a better of a killer. She still has her rude moments, she still has some mean moments, of course, but it's not as prominent as it's not as prominent, and rather her interactions with Koharu almost feels like begins to me feels like playful banter rather than anything like actually malicious or mean. And her interactions with Tomoki actually feels.
Do you say you don't think she feels mean with Sachi? Or that Sachi doesn't feel mean with Koharu?
Okay, I might forget a few scenes. But,
she frequently calls her like fat.
No, I know, but like I mean, even with those scenes, it feels like those to me when I read those scenes, almost feels like begins feel. I mean,
I guess Koharu was never really all that bothered by it.
Yeah, and like it almost feels like a playful banter because like by that point, Koharu is always like talking back, like you have a face like a cardboard cutout or something like that. So but I always find entertaining. So like to me, it's like never feels like because again, as you mentioned, Koharu's never bothered by it. So again, anyway, again, especially after meeting Futaki, especially meeting Tomoki, again, it's clear that Sachi's an interest. It's clear that Sachi has eyes for him. Up until this point of chapter 240, I can't imagine. I don't think Tomoki. No, excuse me. I don't imagine Sachi has made a move yet, which I mean, understandable. I don't imagine how she's gonna make a move, but I don't imagine it's gonna be in her kiddo. So I'm wondering like how it's gonna pan out at all. But at the same time, I can see this. I absolutely see this happening, and I can absolutely see how like their dynamic working out because Tomoki. Here's a kiddo who in Tomoki who was like kind of like indifferent to everything. And Sachi, given how her personality is, feels like she wouldn't be too bothered by it, wants to break the silence just to break the silence. And I feel like their chemistry, even if it can be sometimes toxic, I feel like it would still like work out without like changing their personalities all too much. So whereas like Tomoki and Akari might be a bit more healthier, this is inversely kind of just like sticking true to the kiddos. But so that's why I mentioned before that this pairing and the one with Akari feels like it can be interchangeable with me. But to me, I feel like this one is still gonna be but it's still gonna be a little bit ahead. So I'm gonna throw this in yes, thank you.
Perfectly symmetrical, huh?
This is not intentional. I swear to God, I'm not intentionally doing this.
I mean, it's the same thing with mine not being intentional. That we're just missing all my bees. Koharu and Sachi.
Okay.
Since we're already talking about her.
Yeah. Okay. So this pairing sucks. This pairing is gonna be just utterly toxic. But as I mentioned, I did mention earlier that as time has gone on, that the Sachi's insults toward Koharu, even if Koharu doesn't mind it, has felt like it's toned gradually into playful banter. But banter is still banter, and like she still verbally insults her, seemingly at every tone, and Koharu does the same thing back. Um, um, I just mentioned that Sachi seems like she mellows out as time has gone on. She does not mellow out with Koharu. She feels like she's still the same Sachi as she was at the start, whereas she's still like throws insults, and she just has Koharu's presence around her, and that's basically it. Um, as far as character development goes, Koharu's character development has been no part in thanks to Sachi. It's only been thanks to Futaki, and it's because of Futaki that Koharu has been able to, as I mentioned multiple times, been able to talk back to Sachi and be able to bite back. And I feel like that's to me in my head that's exactly why that uh uh Sachi has begun to, you know, again, I guess like mellow out a bit as time has gone on, because this entire time, like she can just like can just be like the leader of a group and just can just insult and abuse the other members and have not having any consequences. So like when her friends leave and like when even Koharu begins like talk back to Sachi, she actually like starts to change the killer, which I mean it's good and all of that. But again, as far as the latest chapter goes, their relationship is still going to be a toxic one, and that's not yeah. So as a result, I mean they do have a long-standing friendship, but that's all they have going for it. So I'm going to throw us in like between Asuka and Sasuke and Mako and Sachi, please.
Okay, so here's the funny thing about me. I kind of like toxic relationships in like fiction sometimes. I think
Oh my
sometimes.
God.
Okay, I look. I like I like Cheka and Nicole because I really like them together, despite knowing that it is such a toxic relationship. Um, I I will fully admit that some of this is because I never really would have considered them until I started reading the fan comics that people have made, and some of the ones that are focused around Koharu and Sachi, the way that they demonstrate them as like a pairing, it was kind of it's definitely more of a like the potential of what they could be as a pairing is definitely toxic and terrible, but kind of in a way that I kind of enjoy in a weird twisted way. Like it's so hard to describe it. I like how it's presented despite the way that it's presented being very unhealthy. And it's purely for that fact. Just like this is my one like oh it's a toxic relationship, but it's kind of a fun toxic relationship, I guess. It's hard to describe it, especially to someone who definitely doesn't usually feel that way about relationships. It's definitely not like amazing, but I'm definitely been more sold on it after looking at other people's interpretations of what like a relationship with them would be like. So
You Floyd asked. Like, yeah, I like toxic relationships.
no, I'm laughing because I still don't think I would make this a B.
Oh my God.
If I did, it would probably be like the very bottom of B.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe once we do get my B's in here, I'll decide. They're so toxic, but I like it.
You know what I just realized too?
What?
We've been dodging all the Yui ships like the Matrix.
I've been kind of saving them.
Okay, okay. Well, uh,
Well, yeah, there are 5. We have not done a single Yuri one.
So talk about Yui and Yoshida first.
Yuri and Yoshida. Wow. This has like no bearing on it. This is purely for the potential of what it could be. I think it's I just this is a case of I really like both characters, so I think seeing them in a relationship together would be interesting. I think they have such like personalities that kind of mesh in such a weird way that I think them in a relationship together would be so chaotic and kind of fun, especially considering that fact of like anything that Yoshida could do to Yuri, Yuri could also do to her with the violence. Because Yuri has proven to be just as violent as Yoshida is sometimes. And to me, that's kind of funny. That makes them feel more equal in a kind of relationship. It's such a thing that would never ever happen, but just picturing it is funny and interesting to me. And I think you could. I can't think of much off the top of my head right now that I think could work would happen in a relationship with it, but I'm sure you could come up with something. And I think that it's interesting enough to be like probably very low B.
Right. Okay. So, this is another one where, as you mentioned, this is only purely interpretation because like, this one can never happen. But at the same time, it's as you mentioned too, their personalities balance each other out. It just creates such a entertaining like chaos because Yuri is shy and reserved, while Yoshida is loud and headstrong and often protective. So. They do have the merit that they both get introduced at the same time, in which in that they both get introduced in the field trip. But the issue is that they never really have like interactions like together that are anything remember Charles at all. The 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 scenes we do have is practically just them hanging out with Yoshida and no, them hanging out with Tomoko, and Yoshida's bullying Tomoko, and Yoshida's like off the side just watching, just doing nothing. I don't this is another one where I just can't I can tell you like any like meaningful conversation they have because the interactions typically revolve around someone else, and the things that they do that with other killers that would make it seem like the charge like the relation like there's something there in the I can make a pairing happen isn't there but with these two. So it's very subtle if it's even there at all. This is purely but again but from entertainment purposes only. And so I feel like I mean I can't really like this too late, but just on the fact that it could never work, and even imagine them as a couple, I just imagine like it won't be very interesting because Yuri's just gonna be shy and stoic, and Yoshida's just gonna be loud and headstrong, and maybe the interactions there could result in like just why can't you be more energetic or something like that, but that's just like that doesn't like click well with me. So I feel like the best I can put this is like uh, uh um honestly I feel like it's about the same as like Tomoki and Yoshida. So I think I'm just gonna leave them like right there where it isn't be.
Yuri and Mako.
um so this is a very healthy and supportive relationship. Mako has constantly proven has constantly proven and has shown to be able to understand Yuri's feelings without being able to put pressure on her. And Yuri, conversely, seems genuinely comfortable around Mako. Despite Yuri's like how Yuri can be sometimes, despite how violent she can be, there's never been a moment where like she's ever been violent or mean toward Mako. Which I think says a
Well,
lot about. Oh,
technically, she was violent when she said she was like uh Koharu, I think.
I
remember in the bathroom, Mako was like, "You remind me a lot of Mihari," and then Mako like or Yuri just like hit her on the shoulder.
I think I do remember that, but I don't remember like that Yuri moment. But anyway, the relationship here is absolutely, I imagine, gonna be a healthy one. It's gonna be one that's built on trust. It's gonna be one that's built on kindness, and it's gonna be, and even if, as you mentioned, it's gonna be like some violent moments. It's again, it doesn't take away, but that it's gonna be a supportive one. I feel like, but just because of how Mako is and how Yuri is, I feel like the chemistry works very well, and I feel like it can be built on, like, again, trust and kindness rather than anything drama, which is, and in as far as Watamote goes, can be really refreshing. Um, they both have quiet personalities, which can complement each other. Their good interactions can sometimes be overlooked because they can sometimes be low key, and sometimes be just, it doesn't really stand out, while there is some, like, a lot of like better ones, a lot more entertaining, and like a lot more powerful ones. But I don't think that's a bad thing, and I can definitely see this ship working because, again, Marco is very supportive, and I can see is Yuri being a supportive killer back. And again, I just, even if I can, and as a ship, it's gonna be a very pleasant one. I feel that I feel it can work for both killers. Of course, Marco has feelings for Yoshida, but if this pairing happen, I think both killers are going to be happy. So, I I I'm gonna put this between Tomoko and Asuka and Tomoko and Nemato, please.
Wow. Um, I think that obviously they're them being like pretty old friends. Um, because one of the very first things that we learn about Yuri when she shows up is that she's fighting with Mako, and then they make up by the end of the school trip and everything, and that's like our first like introduction to all that, and then we find out stuff about uh Mako and like it branches out that way, and we see them interacting a lot more later on. Although it's one of those things where it would be such a healthy relationship, I think, for both of them, because it feels like Mako already understands Yuri really well, already understands how she is, how she thinks, everything like that, pretty well enough already, and I think she would be able to like get through to her in certain moments. But at the same time, something about it just doesn't interest me as much, I suppose, especially when compared to both of them having such better pairings. And while I do think that I do like them together, and I do like some of the interactions that we do get to have with them, it just feels like, again, just kind of uninteresting, I guess. I don't really see. It feels like as a pairing together doesn't really have much to go. Doesn't feel like it can do many like interesting things with it. So I think I'm probably gonna leave it here for me. Okay, who next, Mr. Ark?
Um, Tomoko and you, please.
Tomoko and you, one of the early things. I feel like it's always been a little bit unclear whether or not Tomoko might have some sort of thing for you. It's been in, she claims that she doesn't, that she just, but the fact with how many times she's just like, yeah, no, I just like seeing her panties and I want to grope her boobs, and like it's like that's not normal. You don't just like, I know that like skinship is more of a thing in Japan, but like even they pointed out that that's like not normal. It's like it's that first sign of like maybe Tomoko has a lot of feelings for girls that she has not fully addressed. that she really needs to. But they're very cute together. And to be fair, although Yu has stated that she like has a boyfriend and everything, she's never really seemed to be against the idea of dating a girl, especially since she did break up with her boyfriend at some point. So that it does leave her open, and she does seem eager to like go to the same college as Tomoko, which like yeah, there are friends, but it's like part of me has always wondered if maybe there was some little thing like hinted at there, um, maybe very subtly. Um, it's definitely one of the oldest pairings that you can find, and like if you watch the anime, it's probably the only pairing that you can really have. And well, I do like it. It's another one of those things where it doesn't feel interesting enough to me. Like, oh, it's cute, and I do like it, and I do like their dynamic, and I do like uh Tomoko being like teasing her and being like physical with her, and you just like not seeming to be too bothered by it, and actually kind of almost feeling like sometimes she's just like, oh yeah, that's just Tomoko, that's just how she is, and I like her anyway. Like showing that she does have like some sort of like she's not really bothered by it really, and she almost like seems to apparently like it if she's like okay with just letting it continue. But I don't know, it's just such a when you compare it to all the other pairings that Tomoko has, it feels kind of lackluster in comparison, especially since Yu doesn't show up very much throughout the manga. She's like every once in a while at the start, and then after the other friends start getting introduced, she falls by the wayside like hard. And if there was a college series, that would probably be the opportunity to bring her in more. But if that doesn't happen, then I don't think that anything else is really going to come out of her character. And unfortunately, it just like there's just doesn't feel like there's as much going on here as much as there could and should be. Um, yeah, they're they're fine, but there's a lot better options. Right there.
So this is a pairing that, again, this is basically the first pairing that we're introduced to. Kyu accepts Tomoko without telling her. And Tomoko feels comfortable in a way that she doesn't with many people, to the point that, again, as you mentioned, she openly admits like groping her or like doing some so essaying her pretty much. I that being said, as the series as I mentioned in my kill list, as the series has gone on, Yu is a killer that benefits more when there's less killers to work with. The more killers are introduced, the less of a role she gets because she's not a part of school. And those and unfortunately, those few as the series has gone on up until the field trip. After the field trip has begun, her promise like just fell off. She still has some she still has appearances. She still has interactions with Tomoko, of course, throughout. She at one point in the manga, she does have a moment where she works toward wanting to get into the same, I think, college as Tomoko, which I think is a cute moment. But there's just not again, as the series gone, there's just not enough. They just lost relevance. If um sorry, if they continued on with the quote unquote original plan, in that that Tomoko was gonna just be alone and just had you and a few others, maybe this would be ranked higher. But as it stands, it just doesn't have a whole lot, and that's really unfortunate. But at the same time, it's like Yu's personality is just, as I mentioned before, her personality just makes it very difficult, if not impossible, for someone to not get along with her. And I feel like the fact that even though Tomoko says she wants to, grope her and do other things with her, and she never gets upset or never says anything mean to her, feels like that could be again taken advantage of, and just by virtue of the fact that you seemingly just can never act like mean, and can never seemingly act eh, actually like angry, which I mean is nice, and that she accepts Tomoko, but there are again there are better ones that don't involve like the potential of one person taking advantage of another partner. So as a result, I'm gonna put them uh I'm gonna put them on the top of C. I'm sorry. This yeah.
Um, Nemoto and Akane.
So these two are kiddos that were introduced since like the first like 10 chapters. But while Nemoto got a kiddo expanded, Akane just kind of got left on the wayside. However, I can never deny that whenever one kiddo appears, it's always frequently with the other kiddo. And even before Nemoto got probably introduced, she's seen most often spending time and being cheery with Akane. And I can see why people like this pair, because both kiddos have outgoing personalities. And both kiddos could, and as a result, it can make for a very fun relationship. They can make for the kind of couple that would constantly joke around and tease each other. But but the fact of the matter is there is just so very little material that's actually canon between them that it's so difficult to judge this pairing based off anything that's beyond potential, because we see them interact, but we at the same time we hardly see them interact like uh, have have interactions beyond just like, hey, what's your plans, or like, hey, you did a great job, and like, oh, well, thank you, and it's basically all. So this is they definitely have a very strong friendship, but as far as a relationship goes, I don't see like how this could what they could be as a relationship. I feel like they could just really would be if it's like um they would be nice towards each other. They would be supportive. They would be welcoming. They would be kind towards each other, and they'll be teaching. So it would be very fun. But but everything I said is just all speculation, because as it stands, Nemoto's interactions, most prominent interactions is with the other kiddos, and Akane's interactions is just sparse, unfortunately. Although admittedly she does have her most with Nemoto. So um just going based off that, and going based off of that, this relationship could work and would be a healthy one, and existed for like the longest time ever since. Like, I feel like this is a relationship that existed ever since like the very beginning of the manga, from when we saw them like interact, and we didn't see like the interactions like what we were talking about until from like I don't know, like chapter 6 or whatever. So for that reason, again, I feel like they would have a happy and healthy relationship together. Although for Nemoto's case, I feel like there are better ones. So I'm gonna put this in like the bottom of A personally.
You basically summed it all up for me. Like the main thing that I always think of is their interactions during the part where Akane is trying to understand what Nemoto would have to go through as a voice actor, and Tomoko kind of giving her the wrong idea, but also not quite, like making her kind of understand there are some weird roles that she might have to take, and that leading to like a different kind of understanding between them. And like, although she appreciates it, she's like, I feel like you gave her the wrong impression. Stuff like that. That's like the main thing I think of. But their moments do become more and more sparse as the manga goes on, and I feel like there could be more. And it's that exact same thing that I feel like, um, while it could be an interesting thing, or not even interesting, while it could be like a wholesome thing, it would not be very entertaining or interesting because I don't see them going very many places. I could think of a few things that you could do with them potentially, but just there's just so little to them. I think that would be super engaging, and yeah, I don't think that they're the best. Sweetie?
Uh, wait, is it my turn?
Yeah, you're giving me one now.
Okay. Um. Uh. Asking you, please.
Asuka and you is one of those like I think it's the only pairing for only other pairing for Asuka that I find interesting, and the only pairing for you that I like. They don't have a whole lot, but they do have some interactions with each other that I've always found entertaining. Just being completely like traumatized by how intense Asuka's studying is, but at the same time she's super appreciative of it because she wants to make sure that she can get the same school as Tomoko. Their whole interaction of both working together to try and to dye Tomoko's hair, which is really cool and a cute dynamic between them. They don't have a lot, but it's just this is definitely one of those things where I think imagining what they would be like as a pairing is fun, and I wish we got a little bit more of them together, but sadly we don't. But I think that they would be fun if they did. And I want you to have someone else that other than Tomoko. Plus, I feel like it's one of those situations where Asuka could kind of be this, considering how she and Tomoko are kind of similar in some ways. I feel like you would be kind of comfortable with her in that kind of relationship because it would probably remind her a lot of Tomoko, but probably just a little bit more subdued, which might be better for her. So I like them together.
So this is probably one of the healthiest ships that I can imagine because both kiddos here are very mature, are genuinely kind, are very caring, are very cheery, and very emotionally mature. They, they, as and I'm actually stunned that you didn't mention this. They've shown that they understand each other when they on like the swings and like they talk about how I think it's you telling Asuka that Tomoko is like is like nicest around Asuka or something like that. I don't remember exactly how the interaction played out, but do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, really? Because I thought I thought you mentioned that was one of the scenes that you really liked. That like like the you and Oscar's moment where after they spend time together at Tomoko's house or at one of their houses, they have a moment together alone where they're sitting together and like I think you tells Oscar that Tomoko is I don't know exactly what he tells her, but I remember it's a very powerful and impactful scene. So the the only criticism they have about these two is they almost seem like they almost seem, which is really this is gonna be really funny to say, but it's almost seem like too compatible, which means that they don't have like enough romantic tension. I genuinely cannot imagine. I cannot tell you what these two could argue about. Like with all these couples, with all these pairings, and even in real life, like the most of a good pair relationship, like sometimes they fight about things. But with Asuka and you, like I can't tell you like what they could fight about, except for maybe like what college they would go to. But even in that case, I feel like they will come to an agreement like pretty quickly. So as mentioned before, this is probably like one of the healthiest, if not the healthiest, like chemistry I can see chemistry that exists in like I think in Watamote, which yeah which so I'm gonna. Hmm. I mean, given all the praise I mentioned, I shouldn't have to tell you that. As a parent, what really will be exceptional. So I feel like they were working better than Oscar and Tomoko and Oscar. So I'm gonna pull them in the top vest, to be honest.
Interesting.
Are you okay? You seem a little bit more distracted with like the I mean maybe it's just me, but your last part seemed a little bit like scatterbrained. I don't know if that's just me though. But...
No, I just. I guess I just had less to say than I thought I would.
Interesting. I thought you liked that painting more than I did.
I do,
But
I do, but it's just like I don't like it on the basis of anything of a lot, you know. I like it because it's more that I like it because I like it more for what it could be, if that makes sense.
No, I mean, yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, that's exactly why I threw it in the top S, because of course it could never happen. But
The only
what
thing
it could
holding
be
it, the only
is
thing holding it back for me is that their lack of interactions, which for a lot of stuff kind of kills stuff for me.
Okay.
Let's do your crack ship here.
Okay. Can you make a teal up for me, please?
I was wondering.
So, so for the audience, everything that I discussed, those entire tier list, I want to believe that it's been grounded based off of reason, that everything has been had a reason behind it. This one is purely just because I like them. As Red would say here, this is an ARC special, and what that means is that I'm pairing two killers together that have zero interactions together, and the only reason that there's a pairing that exists for them, that I pair them together, is because I like them, and that exists in full force here, because Yuri and Megami are both two killers that I love. I absolutely love. However, this ship, even apart from that, has a I feel like has a nice concept, because Megami's personality, as we've already established, is very warm, is very supportive, and is very kind. And paired with Yuri's personality, who is very stoic, calm, and reserved, I feel like that could make for a very fun and cute dynamic in which Yuri wants to help, which Megami wants to help Yuri open up and be very kind and very supportive of her, and like she is with Tomoko. And I feel like as time has gone on, Yuri would like maybe open up more, like he does like canonically in the manga, and it's to me very very easy to match them having again a very kind, sweet, and caring personality. This, like Asuka and Yu, of course, like they have zero interaction together. They never even have a single moment together, even though they could. Like they were together, like they worked together on the same panel to school festival, but they were taught together. But again, how I imagine like the interaction going is that it's just again very sweet, very kind, very mature, very understanding, and their chemistry feels very natural. The again, the obviously the downside is that again this is purely again wholly speculation, but at the same time, it's just the interactions that I imagine they do have is one that I imagine that's very healthy and very comfortable, and that both girls will be happy in. So for that reason, combined with the fact that again these are my two favorite kiddos, this is good. Yeah, this is again my first ship that goes here. Although we're speaking objectively, it should be probably like lower, like maybe like A or S, but you know. So go ahead.
I don't have really much to add. I think it is cute, but again, it's like that's all you. This is all mostly here for you. I think that they could be something. Sorry, I think they could be something, but having this image of them together, is kind of cute. They do look kind of cute together. Um, I got nothing for it, really. Even if I did.
Speculate?
No, because I think you would have you basically covered it all already.
What again? What is the cutest based off of? I'm looking at this as like, and it's like, it's like partially like whatever, it's partially like how much you like them.
It's just kind of a mix of every. It's always just kind of a mix of everything, really. There's never really a specific kind of theme. It's whatever I'm feeling.
All right. Well, Tomoko and Yoshida, please.
Okay, Tomoko and Yoshida was another one that I was like kind of whatever on. I almost was like to the point where it's like, really? But then again, it's like it's the same with Koharu and Sachi that once I started seeing other people doing stuff with them and showing them like doing stuff together and what their relationship could be, it was honestly really cute. Like, really cute in a way that's hard to describe. Just, you could say that it does feel like it shouldn't be like a good relationship because of the way that Yoshida acts around her. But at the same time, it's like you can tell Yoshida does really care about her, does really want like the best for her, and does help her whenever it comes up. And imagine them in a relationship together. It's probably one of the most. I feel like it's one of the most chaotic ships in this entire thing. There's so many here that are like either downright bad or toxic or like genuinely really nice and everything. And I feel like Tomoko and Yoshida is one of those that's just like such chaos because it feels like one moment they could go and be like having like really cute wholesome moments just holding hands while walking. The next moment Tomoko could do something or say something really bad and Yoshida's just like fucking ready to destroy her. And then yet another moment they could be Tomoko introducing her to something lewd and there she is like, oh, that's interesting, hey, you want to try it? Like, that's the kind of relationship that I kind of see them in. It's just such a chaotic thing that could make for some really cute, really funny, and kind of adorable moments, in my opinion. And that they already, it is unfortunate that they do kind of drift apart in the manga itself. Not to the point where they wouldn't say they are friends. Not to the point where they would say they aren't friends, but still enough to that I feel like it's kind of noticeable, especially by the school festival arc. But I really think that they have some kind of cuteness together if you kind of consider them what they'd be like.
So, unfortunately, I'm not sold on this. Yoshida clearly, it is true that Yoshida clearly cares about Tomoko, and she does often look out for him. Well, Tomoko gradually does learn to trust Yoshida more than most people, which is a consequence of her being one of the first people that she befriends in a school trip. The relationship does balance out comedy, it does balance out loyalty, it does balance out both the emotional growth. But at the same time, I just I mean, again, maybe this is just a virtue of me just like having trouble shipping Yoshida with like basically anyone that is named like Mako, but it's like the chemistry that Yoshida and Tomoko has. It's actually mentioned some like sometimes it's maybe sometimes they can be holding hands, but more often than not, if Tomoko wants to act like herself and wants to be lewd, then she's probably going to get put in the chokehold, get punched, or get like get us get Yoshi's going to do something very violent to her. In which case, what that means is that Tomoko might have to like act like someone who like isn't herself, which obviously means like this is by definition isn't is unhealthy, unless Tomoko is just like does it anyway, just like accepts being the pain that follows, which again isn't anything healthy to me either. So unfortunately, for that reason, like this relationship, again, I'm not so on it. So and I also I've only seen like one fan interpretation of them, and it hasn't been enough. So I'm gonna put them in I I'm I it's someone see, but just top of C, I think.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah. It's your ship. Not to say that I
No,
don't
I know.
ship them, but it is more yours than mine.
No, I know, but I just thought I feel like you would have saved this for like last.
Well, so here's my thinking: is I give you this one, you give me mine, I give you the last one.
Uh, did your mic disconnect?
Oh, did it? No.
I because your voice cut out there.
You're just,
Um.
I like this plan. You go ahead.
Okay. Well.
I guess we could also do this one first. If you really do want to save them for last.
Well, again, it doesn't matter. This is do you and them then. So
What?
this is another one that people may not believe in. People not believe in because
Which
Yuri and
wait, hang.
Namato.
Okay.
What?
I couldn't hear you. I was asking if you did want to do this one or not.
Um. Okay. Well, this is a pairing that again. I was the one who sold Red on this because apparently she didn't pair these two at all together at all until my reading of her until my reading of Watamote. But the amount of interactions that these two get or scenes that you find them together is honestly baffling to me. Starting out from the beginning when Yuri and Nemato first began to crush on Tomoko, and then they both fell out of it. After that point, where it seemed like they both like fell out with the crushes for Tomoko, there is a baffling number of scenes where you 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 they just wind up together. Any scene where um there's Yuri, you can more often than not expect Namato to be right beside her, and the same is true for the inverse. And at the same time, um, it's like as I mentioned in like the in the I think it was chapter 193. despite the entire group of like 5 or 6 people um, eating at the ramen shop, once they step outside, you get to see like 5 or 6 panels of Nemoto, despite everyone eating at the ramen shop. Nemoto's gaze is fixed on Yuri for like those 5 or 6 panels. Like she does not take her eyes off of Yuri, and for those panels, you can see like her repeatedly asking Yuri if she's okay and being worried about her. I know it's a show that to show the reader that someone's worried about Yuri, but it is so funny to me that like Nemoto is like for those entire scenes is the only one to do so. Is the only one to like acknowledge that. Is the only one to constantly look at him, not even break her gaze for like 2 pages worth of panels. So and after that point, Yuri is only acts a certain way around Yamato. And what I mean by that is that she only ever like trolls her, and that she never has her smug and like her smile with anyone else except for Namato. Her funniest moment, their funniest moments is constantly together. They constantly have scenes together, and they just constantly have like cute moments together where even outside of like the funny scenes where the Nemato is Nemato screws up and then Yuri confronts her and often hits her and then like again this is like first of all just entertaining by itself, but when even outside of that it's not just all violence, because you have a scene where Yuri calls Nemato to the rooftop, and then she explicitly tells Nemato that um, she, she enjoys when she's being herself or being able to like act out or use her voice or be able to voice act, and Nemato is like actually taken aback by it because it's mentioned explicitly that she's never had she never gotten any praise from anyone, and this is the first time. Yuri is the first time who acknowledges it, and it's the first time who actually praise her for it. Which, given that she always has to troll her, is like extremely obviously powerful moment. Um and despite in that same scene, she well, do you want me to do it? And Yui just like gives a usual response like, nope, not really. And but Yui Nemato just like doesn't believe her. Okay, well, I don't believe you. Well, like, okay, I just have to do it, right? In that panel, where in that wide panel, if you look at Yui, you can just see her like glancing over at her, just like smiling at her. So it's just there's so much there. There's so much choice moments there that exists between them, and again, as I mentioned, every it feels like in the second half around the school festival, every panel that they end up to that one appears, the other one is either talking to them, sitting beside them, or just looking at them off the corner of the eye. So this is my favorite. This is of course combined with the fact that these are my two favorite characters in all of Watamote. This is my favorite ship in to be honest, like it's only its place in all of media, to be honest. So yeah.
I don't think I could do a much better job describing it than you. Whoops. I genuinely don't know how I didn't notice, but like genuinely, they spend an outrageous amount of time together in that second half. The fact that the fact that it feels like they both were in love with Tomoko and then fell out of love and then fell in love with each other instead is such a cute thing to me. It's such a cute thing that is basically you never see in any other kind of media. And it's such a unique and fun thing. Their dynamic with each other is incredibly fun. The moments that they spend together, the one-on-one moments that they have, and then even the group moments that they have together is are always so entertaining, and they have they have some of the best chemistry in the entire series, and genuinely it feels like the intention is that they're supposed to be together. It's one of those things where once you notice it, you never stop noticing it. And I am stunned that more people have not picked up on this, because I feel like there's like nobody, very few people out there that like ship them together, when it feels like that's almost the intention, that you're supposed to, because they have so many moments together and have so much chemistry and just seem to really like each other. And it baffles me that there's not more people that like this ship.
I mean, maybe it's because like they're like you, and I didn't need someone like me to point it out for them.
I mean,
But you know, it's
maybe.
just
I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, it's just wonderful. And they're just imagining them in a relationship together is super cute, because it definitely feels like with just how Yuri is, it feels like such a unique dynamic between them, a unique relationship that would be so fun to see play out and so fun to explore. Um, and I know it's probably never gonna happen, but I think it's really cool and really cute.
what you know. I'm gonna pick between these last two.
Obviously, Tomoko and Yuri, no. So I fully understand you liking Emoto and Yuri, and I do get it. I just, I absolutely adore these two together. I genuinely would not be able to properly explain why. I have reasons that I know that I like them. I like them together because the idea of Uchi being this character who never once in her entire life would probably have ever thought she would ever be like into women. I mean, the internalized homophobia thing. And then she falls for Tomoko, and the way that she falls for her is so unique. And the first time that you get to see her blushing over something Tomoko did when she gets those chocolates on Valentine's Day, and the way she just like her face lights up and she smiles and blushes even as she's trying to like just say that she thinks uh, Tomoko is gross. It's just, to me, it was the moment that immediately, having that realization that she had a crush on her, hit me so hard. And and from there on I just completely fell in love with these two. And it's just, considering that it's the only character that has a confirmed crush on Tomoko, it feels like the one that's most likely to pan out eventually to me. Which would be good, because then you can have the pairings line up well elsewhere if that's the case. But I don't know, it's just everything that I see of them, I just like. It's just a pure, unabashed delight in seeing them together. And then I already liked them as they were in the manga. I really like their times that they do get to interact, the way that Uchi just like fucking starts blushing like crazy at certain moments whenever like Tomoko like properly acknowledges her and like calls her by her nickname. The first time that Tomoko calls her by her nickname, and she just completely blushes from her entire face. It's so cute. And the way that she goes to her talking about relationship stuff, and the little moments of just constantly wanting to spend time with her, constantly taking the seat next to her, constantly showing up whenever she's around, being able to tell that it's her family because she knows her so well that she can just tell when someone is similar to her. It's, I don't know, something about it is just really cute to me. And that was already it, but then going on and like a lot of these other ships, going on and seeing other people's like comics of them, seeing like what they would be like to have Uchi like confess to her, and it's just like, it melts my heart seeing the way that everything happens, because the way that I've seen it interpreted is Uchi confesses, and Tomoko realizes that, like, at first she's like, but you never gave me any like indications of that, and then she thinks back to all the little moments throughout their entire time spent together, and then she realizes that she's just not unobservant, and it makes her panic because she thinks back to her time with Megumi and how she never notices things until it's too late. And she never noticed that Megumi was giving her attention, and she never noticed that Uchi had a crush on her, and that's what makes her want to try a relationship with Uchi, because she doesn't want to miss out on something again, like she did with Megumi, because she lost her chance with her. So like, hey, Uchi's here. She's saying she has a crush on me. Maybe I can give it a chance, so I can see, because I don't want to miss it again. And just like that entire thing is so beautiful to me that it feels like such a perfect wraparound for that entire dynamic. And that's like, since then on, that's exactly how I pictured how it would go if she did confess and they did end up together, and then imagining what they are like together. It just feels like the relationship just feels like it has so much to do with it. So much of Uchi like exploring her sexuality with Tomoko, and Tomoko like having to learn to like understand that, like, even if Uchi comes across as someone who like, you know, the emoji face, and like doesn't is kind of like weird and stoic on the outside, she come to discover that she has a lot of like complicated emotions when it comes to this stuff. And I think there'd be a lot for them to work through together, and I think it'd be really cool to see how they grow and change together. And I really want to see it. And again, considering it feels like something that they're leaning towards, because Uchi's the only one that has a confirmed crush on her. I like it so much. It's so cute and so beautiful to me. It's one of my favorite ships of all time at this point. It just feels like it kind of helps that come full circle with Megami, kind of like Shizuku does, but in a much better way, in my opinion. So yeah, it's definitely not fully rational. In some regards, I can fully admit that, but I love it all the same. Also, the art of them is really cute too.
No, I don't see the vision that you see, because apparently, because like you mentioned that you didn't like the Korean Tomoki because it's like one side going after the other, while like the other side like chasing after them and like is in the way of it. And yet you like this one the most. I just, well, because to me it's like Uchi's obvious crush on Tomoko's leads to like so many like hilarious misunderstandings. Most of interactions, Lima is to me, from what I could tell, from what I could take away, is just they interact or they will come across each other, and Uchi just says gross, and that's it. Like you can't have an interaction with between the two of them without Uchi just saying like gross or like some variation of that. And while it's clear she didn't like Tomoko for who she is, at the same time, Tomoko is again completely oblivious to that, which again while it makes the interactions between the two of them entertaining, it's just like it almost feels like this is just like almost like a joke, because like Uzi exists. It's like just it pop in beside Tomoko, say gross, next scene. The but so for me it's just like it feels just very one-sided. Because I from my recollection, I can't I to me I can't tell you a moment where Tomoko has recognized Uchi's feelings. The whole time it's despite how many times Uchi has appeared beside Tomoko, Tomoko has never had like like a a interaction or like a sentence that that to me has shown that she recognizes her feelings. So I just unless it changes in like the near future, unless someone tells Tomoko, like Uchi tells her herself, or like Tomoko just becomes more observant, or something happens. To me, I just can't see it. I just to me, this is a pairing that almost feels like just someone chasing after someone else's tail. What again is I do to be clear, I do like that initially they start off on the wrong foot. That Uchi has like internalized homophobia that she can't get across that she has a crush on Tomoko and that she's hiding it underneath like the gross facade. But at the same time, it's like despite there being an obvious crush, uh, I just I just I mean, look, I do hope that I get expanded upon. I do hope that Tomoko does like actually recognize that, well, you know, of all the times that Uchi has just popping out of existence, and like is obsessive over Tomoko, that she realizes her feelings for, that she recognizes Uchi's feelings for her. But when I think back to like all like the scenes that is just blocked because Uchi keeps calling her gross or creepy or some variation of that, I'm sorry, I can't see the vision do it as much as you. So so uh, so as a result, um, I mean, as a look, as a couple, as a pairing, no, they would be good as a pairing. So I think I'm gonna I, I'm not gonna bump them at too low, but I'm still gonna play between Tomoko and Marco Yoshida.
You get the last one, Tomoko and
Yep.
Yuri.
So unfortunately, nothing comes out of this. This is a ship that has. I mean, I like it, but just by virtue of them having like the just by virtue of two of my favorite kiddos, born together. And as mentioned during the my killer list ranking for Yuri, as the series has progressed, Yuri has clearly shown issues of jealousy and issues that she's trying to overcome. And I fully believe that her time spent with Tomoko has helped her achieve that, and that's precisely why, as time has gone on, that Yuri has for a brief period had feelings for Tomoko, even if nothing came out of it. Their relationship has so much, in my opinion, depth. Yuri, despite being closed off at the beginning of the school trip, slowly opens up, becomes more comfortable with Tomoko, becomes a lot more expressive, and Tomoko, despite all the awkwardness, genuinely tries to understand and has so many scenes where she understands and supports Yuri. Their chemistry here feels very natural. They have again a lot of, but um, they don't have any like dedicated arcs focused specifically on each other. Like the arc is basically spread across the entirely among starting from the field trip. They don't have any moments where like they just like share room together and have like multiple chapters of interactions. Of powerful interactions, the two of them, because most interactions what they have is just them with someone else. But the interaction we do have is very healthy, it's very supportive, is very entertaining, especially when uh sorry Tomoko is oftentimes lewd, and then we gets hit on the shoulder by Yuri, or like they're starting together, and then Yuri has like her entire face goes red because she's blushing. They have some very strong, powerful moments together, and as a couple, I feel like this pairing would work. And this is another one that I feel like they both sides would be happy with. Uh, um, unfortunately, because it never pans out. Even although it the thing that it loses points on is because it's clear that Yuri once had feelings for Tomoko, but at some point Yushi and Nemoto just both stop acting nearly as jealous regarding um regarding Tomoko. What I mean, I don't mind because because it feels like they sort of have feelings for each other, which like the top of tier list. So but still, given the time they do have, given the actions they do have, I'm gonna put them in the top of A for me.
I think, without exception, Yuri is probably Tomoko's closest friend. I think that they are, other than Uchi, I think, and Asuka, I think Yuri is like very, of like all the other ships, very clearly like one of the best pairings for Tomoko. Although Tomoko and Nemoto have that kind of like flavor and like wholesomeness to them, I think Tomoko and Yuri would make a far more interesting ship, simply again because of the way that that Yuri is. I think their relationship would be so interesting to explore, to see how it would turn out, how they would deal with everything, how Tomoko would try to understand Yuri's feelings, especially in like a romantic relationship situation. Um, I think they have so much potential and so much chemistry between them. Obviously, because I think they're pretty close friends, and I think that the manga could have ended up going that way at some point. I think they were even more likely to have been like a thing, other than more so than Tomoko and Nemoto, and even more, I would say even more likely than Tomoko and Asuka, even if I like them more. But again, it's like you said, that didn't end up coming true. Or it's probably not going to come true at this point. But I still think that they are incredible together, and the dynamics that could emerge from such a relationship are really fun. I think you could explore a lot with them, and yeah, I think just like more likely than Tomoko and Nemoto, and more interesting than them. Also, with how Yuri is, lead to more moments of cuteness. Although again, it's better to pair Yuri and Nemoto together for sure. You summed up most of it, so yeah. Okay. Last minute shifts.
Um, um, hmm. No, I'm fine with this.
Okay. Hey, I think I'm good too. Watamote is cool. People should read it.
My throat is on fire.
Thank you all so much for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe to see more, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.